coming, the sun's zooming in, meltdown expected, the wheat is good there, engines stop running, but I have no fear, 'cause London is drowning. I live by the river.
Hello everybody and welcome to the By the Minute Arsenal podcast. Well, that was a better week, wasn't it? 2 games, 2 wins, lots of good stuff to talk about, which is very pleasing. Introductions, I'm Matt H. I'm joined first of all by Pete. Hello Pete.
Hello Matt.
And great to have him back. We have Matt with us as well. Matt V. Hello Matt.
Evening. Yeah, good week as you said. I'm glad to be here.
Excellent. Yes, I'm particularly pleased we've handed the baton of the Premier League Crisis Club pretty firmly to Everton now. I think we were sort of there's a bit of a battle between us, but we've pretty much given it to them pretty solidly after that performance yesterday. But let's not go there first. Let's get on with it quickly though. Let's go straight on to the first game to talk about, which is our away Europa League game in Belgrade. Arsenal, with a much changed team, managed to get a 1-0 win with come on to the quality of the goal in a bit, but a Giroud overhead kick. Not the best overhead kick I've ever seen, to be frank, but they all count. It went. Right, well look, let's go on with it then in terms of the team news. A complete mix as we expected. Pete, any thoughts about the team that went out?
I think it was pretty much as expected, really, wasn't it? And I think it's a great way to be approaching the Europa League, and particularly a game that some might have thought was really the hardest game in the group. To just be able to say, no, we're sticking with this. It's looking good, and these players are playing well together. So and they're enjoying it. So let's get on with it and have some fun. No, I was really pleased with the team selection.
I'm just doing a quick ad of the substitute shirt numbers. I reckon it's somewhere around the 300 mark, which there's an indication of the youth of some of those, I think. Yeah, Cech was playing, wasn't he? Which took me a little by surprise. I hadn't realised Ospina was injured. Which Matt, you must have been thrilled about.
Well, it was a shame not to see Ospina get his outing again. I really have missed that. But in terms of the team more generally, I completely forgot Debuchy existed. And to see him at centre back alongside El Neni was different, but I mean, El Neni played there in pre-season. Debuchy looked solid enough, and then the rest of the team is as we've seen in the Europa League games, so to be expected, I guess.
It was. Debuchy had the lowest shirt number on show at all in the Arsenal team. Indeed, in either team. There you go. There's enough shirt number stats there to keep people happy for a long time. He wears number 2, and there was no one else with a number less than that. But I've just spotted the Belgrade keeper, according to the Arsenal website, was wearing number 82. Which, there you go. Right, I'll move on, shall I, from shirt numbers. It's not that exciting. It wasn't a classic, so there probably isn't a massive amount that we can talk about. I think it was a good experience for a lot of the team in that atmosphere. I think it was 55,000 people were there or something, and they certainly sounded pretty hostile, but it must have been a good bit of experience. I was going to highlight Jack Wilshere. He seemed to be at the centre of everything as far as the game I was watching it. Pete, any thoughts on that, or indeed any other individual performances you'd like to pick out?
Yeah, it's great to be watching Jack back in the side, and he was good throughout. I'm a bit surprised that there's been a lot of, and there was at the time, a lot of suggestion that it was a really dull match and not a particularly good performance. And okay, it wasn't a great performance, but no, I quite enjoyed it. I've been really enjoying all the Europa League games, and I thought we had enough about us to enjoy it and feel behind them in what they were doing. I didn't really get why there was so much moaning about it being a very dull and uninspiring performance. It's the Europa League. We don't care, and we won.
We don't. My reason for saying it was slightly dull is because I had to commentate on it for By the Minute, and I was finding it difficult to say a number of interesting things for some of it. I suppose. Not that it was terrible so much, but slightly dull. A little bit like the Watford game actually was, until it got unfortunately interesting towards the end.
Yeah, but we had some chances. They had some chances. It was all, it had its moments, didn't it, of interest.
It certainly did. It certainly did. The El Neni back pass was one that I was going to mention. I seem to recall nearly getting Cech in a lot of trouble, which there was a revisit of that theme on Sunday as well, but we'll come back to that later. Matt, before we go into anything else, any thoughts on individual performances? I mean, we mentioned Wilshere. Anyone else you'd care to pick out, or was he sort of the top man, as it were?
I think he was definitely our best player, but I thought Nelson and Maitland-Niles, both wing back, even though that's probably not their most natural position, I thought they were really, really good defensively and going forward. As you said, in an atmosphere like that, for the young players to get that experience and Willock in midfield and play so well was really encouraging. And yeah, as Pete said, Europa League, it is good to see a younger players sort of playing with no pressure, and the team seem to be really enjoying that sort of freedom.
Well, we've prospered in the Europa League, struggling for the word there. I mean, that's 3 games, 3 wins. And I don't think we can quite qualify for the next. We could, in theory, I think, qualify for the next stage when the next game happens, depending on other results. But yeah, it's been our best competition so far, purely on a results basis. But it looked like it was going to be 0-0 until just a few minutes from the end, 4 minutes from the end, when. Now I can't remember exactly who it was involved. Now it was Wiltshire and Walcott, and then Giroud, wasn't it? I think who got the overhead kick into the corner. A lovely way, really, to guarantee the win, Pete.
Yeah, it took a long time coming, but when it came, it was a little work of art, wasn't it? And Jack in the centre of it, he made the space for himself to get the ball in. He had a lovely 1-2 with Walcott, who knocked it into Giroud to finish in his oddly extraordinary style occasionally.
Yes, he sort of. It was like the timing was slightly off, but it was still enough to do the job. Matt, that was a nice way to finish the game.
It was. I was actually composing a tweet about how dreadful Giroud had been, so I don't want to take entire credit for it.
I think you should. That's obviously.
I had to quickly press delete before I made a fool of myself. But no, he's gathering quite the compilation of special goals. I've seen comparisons to the Norwich goal in terms of build-up, but it's one of the scrappiest, best goals I've seen, you see what I mean? Because, the 1-2 was good. Wilshire's flick just about reached Walcott, who sort of put his head on it to direct it to Giroud, who half scooped it to the far corner. So, I mean, it was a great goal, but yeah, I'm not sure it's quite as good as some people have said.
It wasn't in the Norwich yes, exactly that the class of that goal against Norwich, was it? And there were other yes, it was. It always looked like it was going to break down any second. But to be fair to them, they did what they needed to, which was very very good news for us. We play Red Star in the next game in what is it, a week and a half now. It will be early November. But at the moment we are 9 points, top of the group. Bate and Red Star then both on 4, and Cologne, despite their overwhelming, shall we say, fan base, have still yet to score a point, which must be a little disappointing for them. So I suppose if we beat Red Star and Bate only draw against Cologne, then we have already sealed our place in the next round. I haven't worked that out properly. That sounds like it might be feasible. We're already 5 points clear with only 3 games left. So yeah, well, we'll leave it there and we'll come back to enjoy the.
Can we just?
Oh, go on.
Mention that it was I think Red Star's first loss at home for goodness knows how long, and I think it's another thing to be rather pleased about.
You
really.
can. I can also the other thing I was going to mention, which I mentioned in the commentary,
El Neni pass.
Sorry?
Your El Neni pass.
The back pass, yes. I was also the Red Star fact I was going to mention. It was already their 11th game in the Europa League this season. That was the other point I thought was worth noting. So some teams really do have to play, a lot of games just to get into the Europa League, which is worth something worth noting. All right, well look, we'll continue, I hope, enjoying the Europa League when we come back to it in a couple of weeks. But we had the potentially tricky assignment of an away trip to Everton. I say potentially tricky because despite the fact Everton are obviously not having a great season, we've slipped up there before. And we went there yesterday. We're doing this on Monday night, so that was on Sunday lunchtime. Lunchtime's never a particularly good time for us either, I don't think. On Arsene's, I believe, 68th birthday as well, if I'm not mistaken. And we won 5-2. And a lot of people have put this down to, amongst other things, Ozil, Sanchez and Lacazette starting up front for the first time. Matt, I know you were doing this for by the minute. You were pleased to see that. It seemed to work out.
Yeah, I was very pleased to see that for the first time. Obviously, I want to simplify football, but playing our 3 best attacking players did seem to give its reward. I don't know if Wenger was waiting until his birthday for the special occasion or until he knew he could sack Koeman. Either or, it's worked both ways. So I was really happy to see them. I think soon it will be nice to see Wilshere in the Premier League, but considering he played the full game on Thursday, that was probably never going to happen. So yeah, I was really happy with how it looked going forward, and then the rest of the team was as you'd expect, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think there were any other surprises, were there? Pete, any when you saw that lineup, you were enthused, I assume, or perhaps not?
Very pleased that he'd decided to go for it. I think there was a bit of a worry beforehand that he might not do, and he might think maybe we need to have something a bit more solid, and maybe Ozil will be a problem in that regard. But I'm really glad he went for it, and it was the only way to approach a team like Everton. If we'd sat back on them, I think it would have been a big problem for us. But no, I think it was the right thing to do, as plainly the result shows. We have to remember it was just Everton, but it looked like a great front three, and hopefully they can play like that against better opposition as well.
Well, it was certainly. I mean, we had, I think, I can't remember the exact figure now, but it was something like 28 shots on goal by the end of the game. Which is apparent. I think it was 17 in the first half, which apparently was a record. Although obviously being on Sky, this is only a record for the last few years, not ever. But still pretty impressive. I may be the only person though who watched this who was actually slightly underwhelmed by the first half performance. I thought there were too many slack passes. There were it's great having those chances, but we weren't taking them, and we had to rely yet again, it seems, on Nacho to do the business. But I appreciate, in the hindsight, it all looks very rosy. But at the time, I wasn't particularly impressed with the performance. But let's not jump ahead quite yet. So after starting well, which we did in the first 10 minutes, we decided to make things more exciting by allowing Everton to score. Now, Xhaka's taken a bit of stick for this. I didn't see much either way, to be honest. But Matt, any thoughts on that early concession?
I could not believe it. We dominated the first 10 minutes. Could have scored 2 or 3 goals. Everton looked horrendous. They had no pace, no width, playing about 4 attacking midfielders. And then for the first time they got into our half, Xhaka gets caught on the ball, and Rooney, of all people, inevitably buries it from outside the box. It was so typical of Arsenal, but I wasn't too. I mean, I think my commentary probably. I think I wasn't best pleased, but that was a bit of an exaggeration to how I was probably feeling, because I could see we were dominating. I could see Everton defensively weren't great, so I was pretty confident we'd still be able to come back. But it's just annoying, to have that many chances, not take them. Then Everton with their first attack from our mistake to score was pretty typical.
My concern was, as a sort of confidence team, which we've discussed in previous recent pods as well, that taking conceding that early goal, it might take us a while to get us back into our stride. But to be fair, I think we did okay. I think there was some last final balls were a bit sloppy, and obviously some of the finishing wasn't quite as good as it could have been. But we were okay for the rest of the first half, and then of course Monreal. I think this guy can really finish. I think he's a real highlight of our team over the last couple of years, and his shooting is really. I mean, all right, I'm be careful saying that, because sometimes it's woeful and very wide. But when he catches it right, it's very neat. Pete, did you enjoy that one?
Yeah, very much so. It reminded me of his goal against Man City in the semi-final last year. I mean, it wasn't quite the same, but it was man in the right place at the right time and able to bury a ball in the back of the net. But the way he reacted faster than anyone else was just brilliant. And I think we should also remember that however much people are going to slate Xhaka, it was his shot that led to it.
It was, wasn't it? And I don't mind the fact that he likes having a go from distance, because that I think we've missed that for over the last few years. So yes, whilst he's getting some criticism for a number of things, he's doing some stuff okay as well. Well, let's turn to the second half then. So all equal at the break, and then probably from an Arsenal point of view, I think the highlight after 53 minutes, the goal from Ozil, a lovely header, but it was the build-up play to that was key. Matt, that was a nice way to take the lead.
It was, and something Ozil's performance definitely deserved. I thought he was probably our best player. Responded well to all the criticism he's been getting, and speculation on his future. But I thought he was great. I think it involved Lacazette to Sanchez. Sanchez cut inside, crossed it, and then it's a great header. I think we needed that just because, as you said, we're a confidence team. The longer it goes on to 1-1, we start doubting ourselves. But to get that goal to put us ahead, from then on in, it was pretty comfortable.
It was, and my concerns about the first half, which is probably I'm a confidence watcher as well, I'm guessing, because I was the longer it was 1-0 to Everton or 1-1, I was having exactly those concerns, but that settled the nerves a bit, as did the third, sort of 20 minutes later. But yeah, I thought the second half was much better than the first. I know Graham Souness, if I remember spotting, was very impressed with our first half performance, but whereas all I could do was worry about the chances that we'd missed. But Graham turned out to be correct, rather than me in the end, which is no surprise to anyone. We then did make it comfortable with the 3-1. Go on, Pete.
On that second goal, just to say it was Ozil who started it and then ran the length of the pitch to head it in.
Yes, he did, didn't he? It's worth getting a good point noted, yes.
It was real box-to-box stuff from him.
Yeah.
It was a great play between Lacazette and Alexis to get him on the end of it, but he ran the length of the pitch, so credit him for that as well.
And a nice move for Arsenal's third as well, which Lacazette finished on that occasion, which was then you can start feeling a bit more relaxed, I think, despite the madness in the last few minutes, which we'll come to. But Pete, nice. I think am I right in thinking that's his first away goal in the league? Well, that's a nice thing to get off his back if it's been bothering him at all anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much these things do bother people because he was scoring goals, but anyway, but only at home. So yeah, very nice for him to get off the mark away from home. The impressive thing is the way that he's running through at speed, but then just manages to check back at just the right moment. So he loses the defenders, and he's sat there in acres of space when Ozil puts it on his foot.
Yeah, and it looked like then the game was slightly drifting, Arsenal in control, and then we were into injury time when somehow there was time for not one, not two, but three more goals in total. We can sort of do them as a batch, really. So the Ramsey finish to make it, I'm going to get my maths right here, to make it 3-1. Then a hell of a combination between Monreal and Cech for to essentially gift Everton their second. But then Alexis or Sanchez with his somewhat solo effort for the fifth. Matt, any thoughts? I don't know what it was like for you trying to cover this for by the minute for those last, well, not even last few minutes into injury time.
Yeah, I must have typed out my full-time update about 5 times. To start with Everton's goal, big fan of Cech, once it was conceded, blaming everyone and anyone in front of him. I mean, the back pass wasn't the best, but he had more than enough time to just clear it, but no, he decides, I don't know what he was trying to do, because he appeared to just dribble it into Nias. And he got caught in the first half, nearly. I think it was Calvert-Lewin who closed him down and almost won the ball. So I don't know if they were targeting him. That was a shame for him, even though the game's already won. And then Sanchez's goal, he was desperate for that. No chance he was passing, especially after Ramsey had scored. Those two seem to be having a bit of a battle all day, slagging each other off. I don't mind seeing that at all. I know people have criticised them for digging each other out, but I can put up with them not particularly liking each other as long as they're both performing. And it was Ramsey who set up Sanchez with that flick. Both celebrated together, so I don't think there's any problems there.
No, well, Sanchez gets, we assume he gets very sort of wound up during the games, so that kind of thing does seem to bother him. Yeah, I agree with the Cech one. To me, it seemed like, it didn't really matter, but it did seem like he was a little slow to the ball, so I'd have to slightly reluctantly put blame in his direction for that. The Alexis goal, I didn't actually think he was going to get round to turning and firing it in, but it was particularly nice to see him do that, given Pickford had weirdly been giving him abuse for some reason earlier on in the sort of standing over him and shouting when he'd made a good save. I mean, he's a good keeper, but I didn't really get why he was doing that, and that one to see it, that flying past Pickford into the corner was particularly sweet. Pete, any thoughts about those mental last few minutes?
Well, I really liked the Ramsey goal, partly because it made up for his miss in the first half, early in the first 10 minutes. Well, not miss, but it was Pickford's save, wasn't it? But and he had another miss later on where he skied it over the bar from a fairly good scoring position. And I thought it was really nice for him to get that and for Jack to lay it on for him so nicely. That was my favourite of them. I think it's not really worth mentioning the Nias goal, other than to say, oops. And the Sanchez one was a nice little party piece, wasn't it?
It was. We should.
Here I am. This is how good I am.
Yes, which could just become irritating for us if he goes somewhere before too long. But at least we've got a few more months. We should mention, of course, Everton were down to 10 men, although I'm not sure that really made a significant difference in terms of the outcome. Well, I'm not sure what else there is to say. It's obviously frustrating to have a performance like that when you've had a performance as bad as the one against Watford, or an outcome as bad as it was against Watford just a week before. But, let's hope we get more of this and less of that. Obviously, Everton really are a very poor team, and they've reacted today by sacking Ronald Koeman, which is interesting. But let's not worry about Everton. There's enough people to worry about them, I'm sure. Any other thoughts on this particular performance? Obviously, it was very good. Obviously, we'd like to see more of the same. Matt? Anything else to note from your viewing?
Just a lovely show of karma. Calvert-Lewin in the first half shoving Monreal into the crowd. Monreal didn't react particularly well. Came flying back out of the crowd at some speed. Rapid, and then completely accidental. In the second half, they clashed. Monreal inadvertently, kicked, I think, Calvert-Lewin in the face, who had to go off for his nosebleed. So, his snideness was rewarded.
Yeah, good. that's exactly the kind of karma we like. Pete, anything you spotted in that we haven't noted?
Only that I'm vaguely almost getting used to that black kit.
Ah, interesting.
I don't like it, but I'm getting used to it. I still think we should be playing in red when we're away to Everton.
Yeah.
But I can deal with that black one. The blue one, however, no, never want to see that again, thanks.
I think Everton and Arsenal is the fixture that's been played more than any other in the top division, if I'm not mistaken. So if you could have it just red against blue, that would keep us traditionalists completely happy, I think. And but no, we have to wear pink and black or whatever it is. But yes, all right. Well, we'll take that and move on. Very quick look at the rest of the Premier League. It looked like Watford were going to do us a favour by beating Chelsea, but they didn't in the end. Chelsea won 4-2. Man United had their first defeat at Huddersfield. Man City march on with their win over Burnley. And of course Spurs also won yesterday in what was a rather large victory for North London against Merseyside over the two games. Right. Let's not worry about that, though. Spurs, we've got plenty of time to worry about them. They're coming up in a few weeks, aren't they? So we'll think about them then. It all means that Arsenal are currently 5th on 16 points, level with Chelsea, and 3 ahead of Liverpool. That's nice. So there we go. Right. 2 predictions, and more importantly, the fixtures coming up. Well, maybe the predictions are more important. I don't know. Sorry, go on.
We have a score update.
I was about to give you a score update. Yes. So we all predicted we would beat Red Star Belgrade, but none of us got the score right, so that didn't really make any difference. We did not all predict we would beat Everton. I did, and Pete did, so we get a point. No one got 5-2. It won't be a surprise to hear. But Matt, his pessimism on this occasion did not help him out. You went for 2-2, so I'm afraid we've closed up a little bit.
Well, this is a lesson to everyone. Do not do predictions immediately after watching Arsenal lose. I did mine after watching us lose to Watford. I was clearly not in the right mental state. I made a rash decision, which I paid the price for.
Well, there we are. A valuable lesson, as you say, for everyone. Right then, this week coming up, 2 Arsenal fixtures. One in the League Cup on Tuesday, tomorrow night, against Norwich at home. In fact, they're both at home. And then on Saturday, blimey, it's a Saturday 3 o'clock kickoff. I hadn't even spotted that. Crazy. At home to Swansea on Saturday. Right, let's do these one at a time. So, again, a line or 2 or less if you prefer. Pete, we'll start with you. I don't know if you're going to Arsenal Norwich or either of these or both of these possibly. But could you give us a line and a prediction on the Norwich game, please?
Unfortunately, I'm not going to the Norwich game.
Okay.
I am going to see, but I really couldn't get well. No, I couldn't make it basically, so I didn't buy a ticket for it. So no, I'm not going, and I can't possibly predict what will happen in a Carabao Cup game against Norwich. But I suspect we will field a team good enough to beat them, and I would, and it is complete. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if we lose, but I will go for a 3-1 Arsenal win.
3-1. All right, I'm just going to put that. I've just realised I've made predictions, but I'm sort of the opposite of Matt in that I made these just before we started doing this, feeling quite happy after the previous week. So I think I may have gone the other way. I've gone with a 3-0 win against Norwich on the basis that I don't really know, and I think we'll do okay. Worth noting, of course, we only won 1-0 against Doncaster as it turned out in the previous round. So 3-0 for me, 3-1 for Pete. Matt, any thoughts and predictions?
Yeah, I wasn't sure what to do with my prediction, and then I saw Cameron Jerome still plays for Norwich, and I'm convinced we're now going to win comfortably. So I will go. There's no way Norwich can score with Jerome. 2-0.
2-0.
Arsenal.
Okay. 2-0
Who
Arsenal.
do you think will have in goal?
Oh,
I'm not sure actually.
good point.
That's probably more useful.
Yes, more useful. Well, I don't know. Well, who could it be? Czech, I suppose, or who's his backup at the moment?
Macy?
My mind's gone blank. Okay.
Matt Macy. We don't have Emiliano anymore, do we?
No, we don't. Well, that would seem to be the most likely, but yeah, well, I suppose it's whether he actually plays or not. That's the interesting thought. Yeah, it was Macy was on the bench against Everton, so perhaps it's his opportunity to come in. Okay. That's Norwich done then. Then on Sunday it is Swansea. So, Matt, would you like to have a stab at this one? Swansea not having a brilliant season themselves.
No. It'll be interesting to see if we stick with those front three. If Wilshere comes into the team, I don't think. Well, I say this most weeks for our games, but I don't think we should have too many problems with Swansea. I think they might score, but I will go with 3-1 Arsenal.
3-1 Arsenal. Okay. Pete, thoughts from you on this one?
Well, I think Swansea aren't up to much at the moment, and I don't see that changing before the weekend. And I think I'm tempted to go 2-0.
2-0, okay. I've gone for 3-0 again. I've gone for 3-0 for both games this week, which shows that my confidence, possible overconfidence, coming into this. I think it's the same kind of theory. I think Swansea, they're only on 8 points. They've only won one of their last few games. They've only won 2 games in total, actually, this league season. So I'm not sure they've got a great season ahead of them. I think 3-0, especially if we play like we did last week. As you allude to, depending what the starting 11 is a little bit, but if we go with Lacazette and Ozil and Sanchez again, it'll be great to see if they can continue that good performance. So yeah, that's my thinking. So hopefully that will pay off. Okay then. Well, unless anyone else has any points they are desperate to make, I think we can wrap it up there. So. That's it from us. We'll be back next week to discuss those 2 games, Norwich and Swansea, and to look ahead to a couple more, which I'm mentioning it again, even though I don't want to. I think we'll include Man City, but I'm just getting myself prepared for that, and I fear I'm not going.
Can we wait till after? No, we're going to have to do it next week, aren't we?
Yes. Why were you hoping for some way out? Some way of us not playing Man City.
Rather not have to think about it until it happens.
Well, when it does happen, of course, after that we have the international break to tide us over, I believe. So
be miserable throughout.
Yes, exactly. All right. Well, look, we'll finish it there. So, Pete, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Matt. It's been a pleasure.
And Matt, thank you very much.
Thank you. I hope to definitely be back next week. The week after the Man City one, I'm not going to commit to.
No, that's a very sensible performance. Or a very sensible idea, I should say. I'm not sure any of us should commit to it. We could just play some white noise or something for 25 minutes. So it might be relaxing for people. All right, well, thank you very much, everyone, for listening, and we will be back to talk about those two games next week. Take care, bye-bye.